All right, YouTube, how's it going? So, I've been doing unboxing. Here we go. All right, so should be two things in here. Yep, there's two. So this is my Naruto mask. It's the Nine Tails, obviously. Naruto Nine Tails. And then I got a second one of these because I like the first one. This is my Bleach mask. The hollow mask. Oh, this one came different than the first one. The first one wasn't a drawstring. I don't know what's going on. I bought the same one, and this one came with the drawstring. I don't know why. I like the other one better, but hey. I'm beginning to like these drawstring ones better. At first, I didn't like them so much, but hey. This one, you'll be able to see the mask more. The other one, you couldn't really see the design that it was a mask. When I wear this one, you're going to really be able to tell it's a mask. So that's all right. I mean, it isn't bad. Just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I don't know why all of a sudden these masks, they show that they're regular, and then now they're drawstring. I don't know. It's like false advertisement or something, but whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, you can only expect so much when you're dealing with China. That's why I'm a big supporter in Buy US, but I did a concerted effort to only buy US off of Amazon. What happens? It comes, oh, made in China, designed in the US. Well, I didn't want designed in the US. I wanted made in the US. So, like, I went and actually paid an extra $15 on an item, thinking, oh, I'll go with the one made in the US, not the one made in China. So then I get it. And it was a complete bullcrap because they lied. It wasn't made in the US. It was designed in the US and made in China. So I went and paid $15 more just so I could get it made in the US. And it turned out it wasn't even made in the US. So I just like completely gave up on actually getting US made stuff off of Amazon. Although occasionally I will find stuff made in the US that actually comes made in the US, but most of the time it'll say made in the US and comes made in China, designed in the US. So there's like no point in even trying to go out there and find made in the US because it's just all a lie, anyways, most of the time. I would say at least 75% of all the stuff that I buy that says made in the US comes made in China, anyways. So there isn't really any point in making a concerted effort to go and buy US. Because it's just garbage, anyways. I mean, yeah, but it's whatever. And like, I'm a big supporter in buying US. If we want to get our economy back on the right path and get us out of debt, we need to cut China off. But everything comes made in China, anyways. So I mean, like, good luck with that. But anyways, yeah. So it is what it is. Um, so I got a lot of stuff to do, but I was just doing my quick unboxing, and I was gonna hang around for a little bit, see if somebody comes by and wants to chat in my live stream. But yeah, so I got my unboxing done, and then I gotta go do some laundry pretty soon. I'm gonna be spending all day doing laundry and all night until I finish. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Um, I went to the store today. Today was my first day off of isolation. Um, I stopped being sick Sunday, but I still sound messed up because it scarred my throat. The corona, it just like messed me up. So yeah, I still sound messed up, and my throat is still scratchy in that because it got scarred. So there's a lot of scar tissue. So I'll cough occasionally still. But I mean, it's not like I'm sick anymore. It's just I'm scarred. Corona does that to you. It scars you. But luckily, it didn't ever travel into my lungs, so I didn't have to worry about my lungs. Luckily, so I don't have any issue with breathing. So it never damaged my lungs. It never went to my lungs. So it's only my throat. So I'm a singer. I don't know if any of you know that. I do like cover songs and that. And I was going to become a lead singer to a band, but I decided against it. But I really thought about it for a while doing it. And yeah, so I tried to do some singing, and sure enough, my throat's like all messed up from Corona. Yeah, I'm having problems doing some singing. So yeah, like I sound completely different now that Corona scarred me, and that. So yeah, there's that. I don't know if I'll ever recover from it either. Is the issue? I don't know if I'll ever get my voice back to the way it used to be. I don't know. I've heard of the scarring and stuff like that lasting for months and months afterwards, but that might have completely changed my voice for good. I don't know. Kind of like how 50 Cent got shot in the mouth and then changed his voice when he was singing in that. So yeah, I might have ended up like that. Yeah, the lead singer of Flyleaf. I don't know if you guys know anything about her, but yeah, she had throat cancer, and it completely changed the way that she sounded before and after. And that, so yeah, I don't know. That might have just happened to me with Corona, the way I sounded before and after. I haven't actually recorded myself singing yet, so I don't know the difference yet of how much it's changed yet until I upload a song. But I'm going to be uploading the used. I'm going to redo a recording of it. So yeah, there's going to be that coming out pretty soon on my channel for anybody that likes my cover songs. But I avoid filming them with the music because I don't like the whole copyright infringement crap. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard me talk about it before, but Disney decided it was going to copyright my work, and yeah, they put me into their movie and didn't talk about me or anything. Didn't give me credit for it. Nothing. They based their entire movie off of me, and like I talked to a lawyer, and they're like, "Oh, well, it's going to cost you millions, tens of millions of dollars, maybe even $100 million, and there's no guarantee that it'll actually get done right. They'll probably just drag it on for decades in legal court proceedings and that." And he's like, "There's no point in you actually doing it. Yeah, you have a case. They copyrighted you, but good luck with that." And he's like, "Yo, there ain't no point in really doing it." He's like, "I won't even take your case because not because they didn't actually copyright you, but because there isn't any way that you can actually win against them." So yeah, he's like, "There ain't no point in going after Disney." So I just gave up on it. Um, if anybody hasn't watched Tomorrowland, go and watch it. Yeah, I'm their penniless inventor that they talk about in the entire movie. Like, oh, the person that has the inventions that can either cause the destruction of the world or save it. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. What happened was I copyrighted some of my inventions because I knew that I didn't really want them. I didn't want the patents for them. I just mainly put them out there so that our government could have them um, and advance them and whatnot and use it. But turn around and Disney used it. It's like, yo, all you had to do, Disney, was make a prototype, see that it doesn't work, and then just scratch it and don't use it in your in your movie. But instead they're like, oh well, we like his invention. We're just gonna turn him into this whole basis of this movie and then turn around and not give him credit. So it made me really mad. So after that, I'm like, I'm not even gonna do anything remotely that would be considered copyright infringement because I've already been copyrighted against, infringed against. So it's like, wow, why did I turn around and do that same horrible thing to somebody else that I went through? But anyway, so my invention I invented was wrong. If Disney would have even have done a prototype, like they would have, and not infringed on it at all on my copyright, because the only way you would infringe on my copyright was if you did it in like a artistic way, like either writing or a movie or anything like that, then you would be infringing because I didn't actually get a patent. So if they would have made like a prototype of it and filmed the prototype, then they wouldn't have been infringing, but they just did all CG, so it was completely copyright infringed. But yeah, if they would have built the prototype, they would have seen, wow, this invention doesn't really work. And at the time that I invented it, I thought, wow, this is a great invention. I need to copyright this and get it out there so that our government can use it. But yeah, if our government actually turned around and used this, they would have found out, wow, this really doesn't work. He's an idiot. But yeah, it wasn't that I was an idiot or stupid. It's just I didn't really factor into the G forces in my invention. What it is, it's a power assisted takeoff, and you can go look into it. It uses magnets, a magnet propelled track, and you sit on the track. Um, but you really don't sit on the track. You have your own built-in attachment that sits on the track, well, over the track, and your magnets um, go against the magnets of the track, and it propels you. It's really safe for takeoff. Um, for takeoffs, it's safer than you would normally take off when you're talking about like aircraft carriers and that. That's what I really invented it for, was aircraft carriers, to give like a boost and save fuel and allow the Air Force to travel further. Well, the Air Force, it would be the airplanes on the Navy, so the Navy Force, Air Force, the Navy Air Force, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so yeah, it was to save them fuel and allow them to travel further and to be safer, because it's going to allow you to speed up faster. So the main issue with aircraft taking off is it's a short runway. So getting up to speed is the issue, because if you don't get up to a high enough speed, you're just going to tank it right into the ocean and go boom right into the ocean and you're dead. Most likely dead. You might be able to get out, but whatever. You just lost that $1 million aircraft into the ocean. So yeah, to save money and to save lives and to be safer, I invented a power assist takeoff platform. And what the platform does is it can be lifted up from below deck and brought back down. Um, so what you do is you raise it up for takeoffs and then you lower it back down for landings, so that it's out of the way. It's a two-part track. I mean, obviously, you could do more parts if it's more viable. But anyways, it is just made two parts. But yeah, I created a vertical takeoff, and it's like, well, no, duh. You're going from horizontal to vertical almost instantly. Of course, there's going to be G forces. You're going to keep wanting to go forward, and your body's going to end up having its insides slamming into your outsides, and it's going to kill you because the G forces are going to be too great. Well, I wasn't thinking of that when I invented it. I wasn't thinking about the more practical aspect of the G forces and that. I was just thinking of, wow, let's just get you from no speed to high speed off the end of it as fast as possible and as short of a track as possible. But yeah, so the G forces would kill you. So if Disney really wanted to and made the prototype and didn't want to infringe on me and copyright infringe on me, they would have found that out when they launched a prototype, the prototype would have like pretty much destroyed itself because of the G forces would have ripped the aircraft apart. Well, in their case, the space shuttle. It would have ripped the space shuttle apart. The G forces, not even the spaceship itself could have handled it, let alone the passengers. So if they would have actually done this, they would have realized, wow, the G forces, they're not realistic. This invention doesn't work, and then they wouldn't have used it, and they wouldn't have infringed on me because they'd have been like, oh wow, this really doesn't work. But no, instead they just went with the CG version of it and didn't even factor anything into it, the science or anything, and realized that wow, this really don't work. But yeah, since then I fixed it. So yeah, I'm gonna get a patent on it this time so that they can't mess with me. Uh, yeah, but I'm saving up right now for my patent. So I'm about a third of a way there. Um, well, I'm a third of the way there to getting my patent. So yeah, uh, by the end of the year, I'll have all my books done and copyrighted and published. I have a 3-part book series. If I don't know if you guys know, I don't even know if I talked about this on my channel that much. But yeah, I did a 3-part series. The first book's really good. The second book is blah, and the third book's really good. But yeah, without the second book, the blah second book, the third book wouldn't make sense. The ending. Um, what's gonna happen is the first 2 books are about vampires, and the third book is about a deity. Um, but yeah, so the goddess in the third book ends up going to war with the vampire, the first book, against the vampire, the second book's army. The vampire in the second book is ruthless and a killer and whatnot like that, and the first one is more like empathetic and emotional. And like, yeah, so the whole point of the first book was to cause empathy with the main character of the first book. So that way, in the third book, when there's the war, you would empathize with the good people instead of the evil ones, because there is some people might get lulled into the sense of empathizing with the second book character because I mean she's a vampire and she's had bad stuff happen to her and all sorts of crap like that. And I wrote stuff in there so that you empathize it, so that way we can cause a good read for the reader. But anyways, so yeah, the ending where book 2 shines. Everything before the ending is going to be straight garbage, pretty much, and it's just like filler. It's not going to be that long. The first 2 books are probably going to be only novellas, and the last one's going to be the novel. But I might end up turning the second book into a novel, but I doubt it. I doubt it's going to be long enough, so it'll probably just be a novella. The difference between a novella and a short story is a novella is, I think it's between 70 or 75 and 100, if I'm not mistaken. And anything less than 75 is considered a short story. So I'm going to make sure that they're novellas. But the first one and the second one are going to be right around 70 pages, between 70 and 100. So they're going to be novellas most likely. I don't know about the second one. It might not even be long enough to be a novella. It might only be a short story. I'm not quite sure yet. I won't know until I type it. But my third book is going to be a novel. It's extremely long right now. It's going to be like 300 pages long. And I haven't even wrote the ending yet. So it's going to be like 300 pages long. Um, I write on like college rule front and back, and front and back college rule. I'm at like 300 pages almost, or right around 300 pages, and I haven't even wrote the ending to the book. And the ending's gonna take a while because it's the war between the first book's vampires and the second book vampires. Yeah, but it's gonna be based off of the Bible, where the war to end all wars, the final battle uh, between good and evil, God and the devil, and that. So it's gonna be like the first book. the first books, vampires are gonna be like with God and his angels and that, and with the deity of the last book, the goddess. Yeah, and then she's also not just a regular goddess either. She's a alien goddess. Yeah. So, but yeah, I involve all sorts of things. There's dragons involved in the last book. There's deities and aliens and vampires and all sorts of stuff. And it's pretty crazy. And at one point in the book, there's like a reset because the aliens get involved and send the lead character back in time, pretty much. But it really isn't like that. It's just written to make you think that the main character went back in time. It's actually all telepathy induced. She didn't actually experience it the first time. It was just all like it was she got in touch with an alien that implanted fake memories into her head, pretty much is what the premise is. But yeah, it's like some crazy stuff. It messes with their head, and yeah, it was just made to it's kind of like I don't know, like a ploy on the reader just to confuse them a little bit more. Not that my books aren't going to confuse you enough already as is, but yeah. So yeah, my books, they're gonna make quite a bit of money. I know it. I'm gonna become famous probably off of them. If not, I'd be quite surprised because my third book, oh man, it is excellent. Excellent reading. But they're adult books too, because there's sex and violence and I think there's even drugs in there too. Like even if it's just my character's killing drug dealers and stuff. But there's all sorts of crazy stuff in there. There's a lot of war and killing and empathizing with somebody who's a killer and stuff like that. Torture and all sorts of crazy stuff. My first book, the main character ends up having permanent streaks down from her eyes because her dad tortured her when she was younger and it froze her tears and they cut into her skin and made a permanent scar. So she looks like she's crying permanently. So she wears a mask a lot to cover it up. But yeah, at the end of the book, she is walking away and um, that's like the best ending ever. As she's walking away, she just takes off her bandana and it falls down to the ground. And as she walks away, it's excellent, excellent writing. I don't mind talking about it like that because I've already copyrighted it. So good luck trying to steal that. But anyways, so yeah, I'll actually go to war over that book if somebody wants to copyright strike infringe me on that. Oh man, no, no, no. Can't steal that book from me. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna be publishing them pretty soon. So I gotta get my computer. My computer I'm gonna get is gonna be a gaming laptop because I'm gonna do gaming on it too. I'm not just gonna do my writing and that on it. But yeah, I'm mainly buying it so that way I can type up my books and then get those sent in to be copyrighted, then published through Amazon. Yeah, but I'm gonna have them for sale very cheap. It's just gonna be the electronic version of my books at first. Um, I'm just gonna set them at 99 cents. So I'll probably get like 10-15 cents per download. But I mean, 10-15 cents per download, I'll be making quite a bit of money because a lot of people are going to download it. And it's a series too. So you got to figure people are going to be downloading it as a series. And the whole series is going to be like a dollar to $3. I don't know exactly if I can put the whole series for sale for $1, but if I can't, then I don't know. I might just put each book for 33 cents and call it a day and make like 5 cents a book or something like that. Not that much, but I want it to be cheaply available so that more people read it. Yeah. So more people will buy it, and I'll make more money off of it than if I made it expensive. But yeah, it's going to be really cheap. So if you're into a good read and you're an adult, then yeah, you should go read my books. But I don't know exactly if I'm going to put them as teenage level because I don't know. My last book was probably going to be teenage readable, but my other books in this series, nah, especially not my second one. My second one is going to be full of all sorts of crap that would not be good for a teenager to read, but I might make the first one available for teenagers. I don't know. I'll have to see when I go back and type it if it's going to be viable enough for teenagers. But my third book, I made sure that it's going to be more viable for teenagers to read. But I'm most likely going to age restrict all my books to 18. And then I had a thought about rewriting my last book as in two different books, one for teenager and one for adults, but that would just be my last one. My first two probably will only be for adults only because of all the sex and violence in them. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't exactly tone it down for my books. They're definitely adult oriented. But yeah, they're fantasy books, but the way I write fantasies is I write realism into it. So I had my friend and a few other people, random people, read my book for my first one, so I could see if it was worth even getting copyrighted in that. To see if I was actually a good enough writer to make it viable for sale and that. So I let him read it, and I let my friend read it, and she was convinced that vampires existed. She wanted me for months to introduce her to the vampires so that she could become a vampire. And like, no matter what I said or what I did, she would not believe me that it was fake. Like, I made up the whole thing, and she could not get it out of her head that it was real. It's just the way I write. The empathizing and causing empathy with the main character worked so well that she thought it was real. Yeah, but I write realism in real stuff into my fake storyline and that, and fit into all the fake stuff. So, like my last book, there's a lot of real stuff in it. It's real enough that you can make people think that I could make people think that vampires are real and that aliens and all that and dragons and all that exist. Although I do believe in both dragons and aliens. As far as vampires, I'm iffy on that sort of thing, and also werewolves, I'm iffy on that. But yeah, I do believe in dragons and also aliens that they do exist. I've seen them before. I saw a dragon once, but it was a baby dragon. It was an ice dragon, a baby ice dragon, and it was eating ants whole. Like I could see its teeth and everything, man. It was like some vicious little animal. Yeah, it was engulfing the ants whole, and it was about maybe a centimeter in length, and it was engulfing ants that were almost the length of its entire body. Like it was nothing, just wolfing them down. And I figured if that was like scaled up, it would be like a dragon just wolfing down a cow like it was nothing. Just rise up on it, and woof, gone, without even chewing it or anything, just swallowing it whole, and it ate like 100 ants. I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I filmed it at the time, and my friend filmed it too, and he put it on his like TikTok or something. I can't remember exactly what he put it on, but I'm pretty sure it was TikTok. And one of them put it on his Facebook, and I had it videotaped, but I never downloaded it or anything. But yeah, it was definitely a dragon. I mean, it was like there's nothing else it could have been, honestly. And there it was in Florida. I mean, of all places to see an ice dragon, baby, Florida. But yeah, nobody would believe me. Even to this day, even if I had the footage, nobody would believe me that I was dragon. It's just so unbelievable that there'd actually be a dragon. But yeah, most people think that even that with the videographic evidence, it's just edited or something like that. So, but yeah, that's why I started this channel, was because I've gone through some crazy stuff in my life and people just don't believe me. So I decided, well, if I have a camera on me most of the time, then maybe I'll be able to catch some of this crazy stuff that happens to me on camera and, and put it up there. Like, I was walking from place to place fishing um, in Florida. So they straight up Mandela effect. There used to be three lakes there, but apparently there was only ever one. Mandela effect. It screwed with me a lot, but I didn't know that at the time. So I went to go fishing at where I knew there was a good lake to fish at. Well, I go back in there and I cross through the tree line and there's nothing there. Like seriously, nothing there. No sign that the lake was ever there. Nothing. So I'm like, what in the world? What happened to the lake? Well, it comes to find out it never existed in the first place. But that's besides the point because Mandela effect changes crap all the time. So I was back up in there. And I'm like, well, I gotta piss. So I went pee. Um, so I'm back in the tree line pissing, and then I finished. So I go to walk back down to go fishing again. And I go to walk back down, and there's this rabbit there, and it's huge. I'm like, holy crap, look at this rabbit. So I went to go grab my camera off my hat. I turned my camera on, and I go to press the record button, and it takes off. I'm like, no! The one time I go to record something that's unbelievable that nobody's ever gonna believe, and I can't even capture it on video. Like nobody's ever gonna believe me about this story. This rabbit was huge. It stood like 4.5 feet tall, and it weighed like 130 pounds. This rabbit was massive. It reminded me of Bugs Bunny. Like you know how like when Bugs Bunny sits, he like stands up. That's what this rabbit was doing, and it was huge. Its ears were like massive in that. Like without its ears, it was probably only 3 foot, but with its ears, it was like 4.5 feet tall. It was a massive rabbit. I mean, like seriously, it was huge, and it just stared at me, and it was just sitting there, and it wasn't doing anything. It was just staring at me. It didn't care. I mean, like I'm not gonna eat the thing. It knew I was gonna eat it. I mean, why would it fear me? It's practically weighs my own size. Like this thing was massive. It didn't have to worry about anything, unless I was like a dog or something. But I wasn't a dog. I'm a human, and rabbits know about humans and that. So it's not like I was a threat. I didn't have a gun, but me going to grab the camera spooked it, and it just hopped off. And I'm like, no. Why was I not recording me going pee? I would have caught it on camera. But yeah, I never caught it on camera, so I don't have proof that there's this giant rabbit just hopping around in Florida. But yeah, it's crazy. And then I also saw aliens in that, but that was long enough a time ago that cameras weren't really that widespread at the time, and neither were phones that had cameras. Like back then, most people had the flip phones or the Nokias and stuff like that still going around. I know I'm that old, but yeah. So at the party, I had a Nokia, one of those Nokia things, and then everybody else either had those flip or rotate ones or the flip open ones, really cheap ones that didn't have cameras, and nobody there had a camera. Like seriously, there were aliens, like tons of aliens, but we had no way to record it because nobody had a camera. So it's like nobody's ever gonna believe me that I saw these aliens and that there were three groups of them and that there's a group of them shoveling dirt and rocks and like plant matter and stuff like that, whatever was there in the ground, into a filter. and filtering it and then taking out what they wanted and like putting it in like a backpack, pretty much is what I would call it, and putting it on their back. Like, I don't know if you would really call it backpack or like a container. I don't know what they were putting it into, honestly. But yeah, they were putting it through like a filter and they were taking out minerals or something. I don't know exactly what they were taking out, but it looked like rock minerals or something like that. And yeah, but nobody's ever going to believe me that these aliens are doing this. Like, seriously, who would believe that? Why would there be aliens shoveling dirt and rocks and filtering stuff out? Like, what are they doing? Like, seriously. So I wanted to know. So I'm telling my friend, he's the one that was hosting the party that I was at. I told my friend, I'm going to find out what's going on. I'm going to say hey to him. He's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. No, 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 no. They're aliens. No, no, no. You can't do it, Joe. You can't do it. And he's like arguing with me and this and that. I'm like, forget you. And I hopped up on this fence. So the way his fence was set up, it's one of those wooden fences. So like there's a place where you can step halfway up. So I stepped up on that and popped up over the top of the wooden fence. And I'm just standing there looking at the aliens. And I says, hi. As soon as I said hi, they all looked at me. Like, there's like between 7 and 10 of them just standing there in that group that was really close to me. They all turned off all their flashlights. Now, the flashlights that they had were LED flashlights. And at the time, LED flashlights didn't exist. So I thought it was really strange that they had white lights, because white lights didn't exist back then. They were only yellow. That was why I instantly thought that they were aliens when I saw them to begin with, because I saw their white lights going through the forest. I'm like, no, we don't have that technology. Our lights are yellow. What's going on? How come these white lights are there? Like, what's going on? So then I instantly knew they were aliens. So when they got close enough, I'm like, yeah, they're definitely aliens, because you can look through the slits. Nobody believed me until they started looking through the slits, and they're like, oh yeah, there's aliens, definitely aliens. And then the people inside locked us out because they got scared, because we're like, yeah, there's aliens out here, yeah. And then enough of us said that they're aliens, and they started believing, so they all got scared and locked us out. They locked the glass sliding door on us, so we were all outside. And the owner of the house is like trying to get them to open the door, and he's all like freaked out because he's afraid that the aliens are going to attack us or something. But I'm just like, I'm popping up, I'm going to say hey. So I said hi to him at first, and then they all shut up, they stopped talking. They were talking, and it sounded like more like I don't know, like, I guess you would call it Sumerian. I mean, that's just my guess. Educated guess is that they were speaking Sumerian, because it sounded like human language, but it didn't sound like anything I recognized. Like, it almost sounded Spanish, but I could tell it wasn't a Spanish dialect because I'm from Florida. So it wasn't any Spanish dialect I've ever heard. And I've heard every single Spanish dialect there is because I live in Florida. So it kind of sounded Spanish, but I could tell it wasn't Spanish. So that's why I think it was Sumerian. But yeah, it definitely sounded human. It didn't sound like there were clicks and bops and whatnot like people talk about aliens talk like. It sounded like an actual human language. It was just something I didn't understand because obviously I don't know Sumerian, so I wouldn't understand them. Not that many people would understand anything that they say, especially since Sumerian's a dead language. But that's besides the point, because I don't know if they were speaking Sumerian or not. But they were definitely speaking a human language. They weren't speaking like an alien language. They were speaking a human language. I could tell that much, that they were speaking one of our languages. So I said hi, and they all shut up. They all stopped talking. They turned off all their walkie talkies, so they stopped communicating with the other groups. All the other groups turned off all their flashlights, including them, and they just stood there. And I have really good eyesight at nighttime, so I'm just watching them, and they're watching me watching them, and whatnot. So I just pop back down. I'm like, wow, they're scared of me. So I told them, I'm like, wow, they're scared of me. Like, they won't even say anything to me. I just want to know what's going on. I'm curious. Why are they shoveling dirt? and filtering it out. Like, what are they doing? So then I'm like, I'm gonna ask them what they're doing. And my friend's like, no, 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 you've done enough. You've done enough. Just leave them alone. So I'm like, I don't want to really know what's going on. So I popped back up. My friend almost pulled me off the fence. Like he grabbed me and tried to pull me down. But yeah, I was already on top of the fence, so that wasn't happening. So I popped up again and I says, hey. And they all looked at me like, holy crap. He's really talking to us now. We know he's talking to us. And they're probably thinking like, oh, whoa, what's going on? How come our telepathy's not working? He's staring us right in our eyes, and he can still see us and that. So they were probably like all freaked out, like, wow, what's going on, man? He's not a typical human. What's going on? So I said, hey. And they all like looked at each other, all freaked out, and then they looked back at me, looked up at me. And when they looked back up at me, I said, what are you guys doing? And as soon as I said, what are you guys doing? They all freaked out and they started screaming um, and yelling while they were running. They had all their lights on. Now they run through the woods, yelling over the walkie-talkies and whatnot. And you hear all three of them hop in their spaceships and blast out the atmosphere. Like aliens, they have the technology and the speed that they don't have to actually blast the atmosphere out into space because they can exit at a lower trajectory and at a lower speed out of our atmosphere without it blowing their spaceships up. So for them to be freaked out so much that they blasted out of the atmosphere as fast as they could and blasted the atmosphere out into space, I must have really scared the crap out of them. Like seriously. And I could tell that there were three of them because when they took off, you could hear all three engines starting up, and then you could hear all three blasts out of the atmosphere in succession because they didn't all take off at the same exact time. They all took off as soon as they could, but some of the groups were closer to their spaceships than the last group, which was closer to us, which was the farthest away from the spaceships. So yeah, they were scared of me. Like everybody to this day is like, "No, you didn't do that. There were no aliens. You guys were just tripping." It's like, no, we were doing drugs. I mean, we were kids at a party and we were drinking and that, drinking and smoking. But I mean, come on now. You're seriously going to tell me that drinking and smoking made us hallucinate? And not just one of us, but a whole group of us hallucinate the same hallucination that there were aliens there. That's just not viable to make that argument. I mean, they were freaking aliens, and a lot of them, and they were doing something weird with our soil, and they took something with them. I don't know what was going on. But yeah, they were alien grays. There were two different kinds of them. There were the short ones and the tall ones. And there were males and females too. You could tell just by the way that they were dressed. The males were only half dressed, and the females were fully dressed, which is strange because everybody that I've ever heard talk about aliens, they were all fully dressed. But the males that I saw were only half dressed, and you could see their skin. So like you could see the point at where their pants stopped. And yeah, they wore clothes like humans too. Everybody that I've ever heard talk about aliens say, "Oh, they wore like space suits and this and that." These aliens weren't wearing no space suits. They were wearing like clothes, like what I would consider human clothes. I mean, they were more tight fitting than we would wear, but they were clothes. They weren't spacesuits, and they weren't like skin tight or anything like that. They weren't compression suits. Um, so like, I mean, these aliens could have expected to have been doing a lot of work because that's what I think they were doing was a lot of work. So they were expecting to be higher temperature because when you work, you get hot. So they weren't like dressed how they would have been on their spaceships. So what I think happened is they just took off their spacesuits before leaving the spaceship and left their suits on the spaceships. And we're just in the regular garb, the regular clothes. But yeah, the aliens I saw were just in regular, like human clothes, pretty much. And they spoke like a human language. Like there wasn't that big of a difference between them and us. I mean, their eyes were bigger. Their eyes were like 1.5 times the size of our eyes. Um, and they were black. Like if you look at the outline of our eyes right here, imagine that being their whole eye. That's about the size of their eye was. So maybe two times our size, maybe. I don't know, somewhere around 1.5 to 2.5 times the size of our eyes. But they weren't like massive, massive eyes like everybody talks about when they. What I think it is, people are so scared of aliens, and they think that they're gonna hurt them so much that they just exaggerate everything. Like the aliens, yeah, they were just like normal, pretty much like normal humans. The same anatomy setup. Their heads were a little bit more elongated, but I mean, like I could attribute that to just them having bigger heads. They had like 1.5 times the size of our head, and so it kind of looked like they might have had a bigger brain than us. So that would explain why it would look like their head was a little bit more elongated, but it wasn't like sharply pointed or whatever. It was more like, I don't know, like a regular human head, pretty much, like shaped like a normal human head, just a little bit larger. So like if you extend this out, our head out, and follow the same shape of our back of our head, that's pretty much what their head looked like. Just a little bit longer of our head, version of our heads. And their skin color was like a really dark gray, and it had different tones of gray to it. Like it almost had like splotches of darkerness to it, darker grayness to it. But yeah, their skin definitely was gray, but it didn't look like a gray like you would think gray when you think of the color gray. It was like more like a skin tone color gray. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But yeah, their fingers were a little bit longer, and the tips of their fingers were circular. That's how close these aliens were to me. Like I could literally have jumped the fence and reached out and touched them. That's how close they were. But they were off to my left a little bit. But yeah, they were so close I could literally sketch them. That's how close they were. I haven't ever sketched them, but I've refrained from doing that because it's not actual photographic evidence, so there's no point really. But yeah, as far as their height, the taller ones were right around 6 feet. I mean, not excessively tall, within the range of a normal human. And the short ones were definitely right around 4 feet, 4.5 feet. Again, normal height of a human. Although they were like, you could tell that they weren't kids, even though they were short like that and smaller build. Um, and you could tell that their feet were a little bit longer than ours, but that could just be attributed to their longer tips of their fingers and longer tips of their toes. I mean, there you go. And they were wearing shoes, obviously, so I couldn't like see their feet to know exactly why their feet were a little bit bigger. But yeah, they were wearing shoes, like actual shoes that looked like sneakers. Like I'm telling you, the differences between aliens and us really isn't that much. Like it really isn't. People just exaggerate it because they're scared of them. But yeah, it's irrational. It's a rational fear. Aliens are more scared of us than we are of them. We present more of a danger to aliens than they do to us. Just even from viruses. I mean, think of all the viruses we got going around, like Corona. Imagine if we transmitted Corona to these aliens. I mean, like these aliens seriously fear us. They don't want any contact with us at all. So when I was talking to them, they were extremely scared of me. Plus, we have all these dangerous weapons, like the atom bombs and that. You hear stories of aliens dismantling warheads and diffusing them in air. uh, Aliens fear us. They really do. I mean, it's like we're so scared of alligators, right? But alligators fear us. We're a predator, like alligators are scared of us, and we're so scared of them. It's the same sort of thing. I mean, like, we're so scared of these predators that are so scared of us. These predators are more scared of us than we are of them. Like, even bears, if you yell and scream at them and wave your arms and blah, 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 they're scared of you and they'll go away. They won't attack you. It's the same sort of premise. Like, we're scary. I mean, we're like the scariest thing around. And to just be irrationally afraid of all these things out there, it's just stupid. We're highly more dangerous than anything out there. We're the most dangerous beings around. We're more dangerous than aliens. We're a warpath, war crazy, um, killing machines. I mean, seriously, if if you're more scared of aliens than of your fellow human being, there's something wrong with you. Just like if you're more scared of a bear than of the person that's your neighbor, then there's something wrong with you because your neighbor's way more dangerous. They could just pull out a gun and shoot and kill you, or just decide to rob you one day and kill you. It's like, yo, these people are way more dangerous than what you're afraid of. But yeah, people are so scared of aliens. I just don't get it. But yeah, that's just me. Anyways, so nobody stopped onto my live stream. Too bad. But anyways, you guys have a good one. I gotta go do some laundry. See you, YouTube.